Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do.
Just what to do, just what to do.
If what you're feeling is really true.
Is really true, is it really true?
Just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geri Petito Show. Guys, everyone and anyone who knows me knows I am the author of I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. I'd rather be a smartass than a dumbass, guys, because 32 years ago, I was a dumbass. But today, 32 years later, through the grace of God, I can honestly say now I'm a smartass. Yes, the word ass is in the Bible at least 40 times, and it means donkey, and that's what I was. I'm saying all that to say this, guys. You know, we've all had the roughest few years of our lives, right? All over the world, not just here. And unfortunately, too many people left, and a lot through addiction, including family and friends of mine. Okay, so I'm a recovery coach. I'm also a nutritional health coach, and all my services to you are free. Please know someone is listening, and please, please reach out. If you think my book can help someone, please go to www.geripetito.com, my website. You could order it from there. You could also go to Barnes & Noble's, Amazon, Simon & Schuster's bookstore. You can go to BAM, Archway Publishing. It's everywhere. And guys, listen to me. If you truly, truly, truly cannot afford my book, reach out to me about that as well. I want to help you. I want everyone to know someone is listening and you're not alone, okay? Also go to the Geri Petito Show YouTube channel. A lot of cool stuff is happening. I just want to mention a couple of my sponsors, and then we'll get going, kids. Okay, SOS for Life. They're having their second annual benefit event, Christmas Feels Like Home. It's held at Vinyl Lab in Nashville, December 9th of this year. And their website, www.christmasfeelslikehome.com and www.sos4life.org. And all their proceeds, guys, go to help children. Okay? I want to also give a shout out to another sponsor, Michael D'Amore. He's an incredible, incredible singer. You can go to www.michaeldamore.com. And for $1.99, you could download some of his songs, okay? And, you know, guys, I want to just say something to everybody listening. You know, I try to have incredible, incredible, incredible guests. And I'm going to tell you something. Today I have a really, really incredible guest, and there's a reason why. Everyone who knows me knows that I just love music, okay? I always say that I was born too late. Okay, I was born in 61, and all these incredible, great oldies songs came out in 61. That was the greatest year for oldies music, people, all right? But, you know, you can't take the 70s out of me. You can't take the 80s out of me. You just can't. I love all music, and I got to tell you something. The British invasion owns a piece of my heart, baby. So, without further ado, I want to introduce my incredible guest. But I'm going to have him say his last name. I don't want to mess it up. So, Charles, tell everyone who you are, darling.
Charles Rosenay, proud to be on Geri's show. And I'm going to disagree. 1964 was the great year for music.
Tell them why. Tell them why. Come on.
64, February 9th, when the Beatles invaded.
There we go.
They were on the Ed Sullivan Show, and we're both too young to remember it, but no, it was one of the great memories. And
there you go.
61 was Dion. Oh, such a great year also.
Okay. All right, listen, even some Elvis hits, I mean, it was crazy. But, okay, so we're here to talk about 1964 today, baby, okay? So, I love your book. Thank you for writing this. This was incredible, by the way. All right? So, I mean, Elvis is mentioned in here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, honey, come on. That made me love you more. Okay? So, all right. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Born and raised in the Bronx, one of my first memories in life. Two ones stand out. One was watching Bride of Frankenstein with my mom, and the other was watching the Ed Sullivan Show with my parents. And both indelible memories, because for me it was baseball, it was the Beatles, and it was monster movies. That was my till I discovered girls. That was my life. And fortunately, the things that I loved stayed with me, and I was able to somehow turn them into not professions, but hobbies and side hustles, as and for lack of a better word. I'm an MC, I'm a DJ, I do weddings and bar mitzvahs and dances. That's my main thing. Every weekend, if I'm not doing a convention, I'm out there, entertaining for parties. But growing up, loving the Beatles, if you were a guy, you wanted to be a Beatle. I mean, you wanted to grow your hair long, and you wanted to strap on a guitar and sing. Some of us were not that talented. Some of us just could not really
Oh my
grasp the
God.
musical ability. So if you were a guy, you wanted to be a Beatle, you wanted to, be a musician, whatever. If you were a girl, and correct me if I'm wrong, you either wanted to grow up to marry a Beatle or sleep with a Beatle.
Or Elvis, excuse me, add that to the mix. Come on.
All right. Or family or whoever else. Granted.
All right.
So I turned, everything I loved into what I did. Became a DJ because I loved the music, couldn't play an instrument, and always collected Beatles stuff. Always would play the songs. When I got married, taught the kids all the songs and all that. But that somehow led me into producing Beatles conventions in the 70s. But before that, the first event I ever produced and promoted was a tribute to Elvis in New Haven, Connecticut. First event I was ever professionally involved with.
What year
It
was
in-
that? Come
It
on.
was late 70s. It was an amazing Elvis impersonator called Ronnie Speaks, who's
Okay.
no longer around, I don't
Okay.
think. But he was one of the first, great guys, the great Elvises that did it and toured with it. So the Beatle conventions came about. In 1980 or so, I started publishing a magazine on the Beatles called Good Day Sunshine, which lasted like 20 years. And then in 83, I started doing Beatle tours to Liverpool. So just like you have, Elvis Week in Memphis, there's a Beatles Week in Liverpool. And I'm wearing my Cavern Club t-shirt right now.
Yay.
That's one of the main places we go to. Every summer, this was my 40th anniversary of bringing people to London and Liverpool on Beatle tours. And it's just the ultimate. So with all those things going on, I got to tell you, this thing that we really hated called COVID hit the world. And Jerry, I have nothing to do anymore. I can't produce conventions. I can't do tours. I can't book bands. I'm not out there DJing and entertaining. Everything I do, I can't do. So what do I start doing? Publishing books.
Okay.
I've always been a great writer. I'm a phenomenal editor. I do
Woo.
design. But there was one right before that called the Book of Top 10 Horror Lists.
No. Yuck.
But that came out first.
Well, because you know why? You were living in a horror world.
Because we live in colors of horror.
Okay, there you go.
Everyone says, Charles, how dare you not put out a Beatles book first? And I go, well, the other book had, 9 chapters on the Beatles, 9 chapters on the Monkees. No. They would not accept that. And it was that simple light bulb that went off. Well, if I did the book of top 10 horror lists where 100 celebrities gave me their favorite horror themes, well, I could just do a book where 64, because that's my magic number with the Beatles, celebrities gave me their top 10 Beatles lists. It made sense. It was something I probably should have put out first. And it's been so fun and so successful. And I get to go to not just conventions and libraries, to sign copies and meet fans, but to special events like the one where we met.
Okay, so tell everyone where we met.
We met in Long Island at a concert by our dear friend Billy J. Kramer. Now, Billy J., for those who don't know, was part of the British invasion. He was managed by Brian Epstein, who managed the Beatles. He was friends of the guys. They wrote songs which he recorded and had hits with. Do You Want to Know a Secret and Bad to Me? All these really phenomenal songs that were just staples of 60s radio. And Billy J. did a concert that I had a table there signing copies of my book right next to where Bill and you and I met and hit it off.
That's
and
right.
You told me about your show. You jumped all over wanting to get a copy of the book, which I signed for you.
Yes.
I love that. And Billy J., I think you've gone on to interview him,
Yep.
and he's gone on to celebrate his 80th birthday by recording at Abbey Road Studios in London 3 days before I brought my Beatle fans, 60 phenomenal tourists, to Abbey Road. He was there 3 days before us. He was doing his recording, and then we came in and did our recording. So a lot of all this cross.
Well, let's give a shout out Gene DiNapoli, because Gene is the one who put the show on, and I drive him crazy. Okay, so he'll send me messages. All right, Jared, promote the show, and I'm like, you got it, and He goes, I know, So I'll come to the show, and I stalk everybody.
Yeah.
And he loves it. It's fine, okay? He's like, Jared, be good. Okay, only come down for a minute. Get that, He's so cool. I love you, Gene, and this happened because of you. So thank you, Gene.
Gene, the promoting machine, and
There
I
you
hope
go.
to do. We're talking about some future projects that we might be doing together. So thanks to that event and us knowing each other. And
a shout out to his wife for letting me hang all over him at times. Yes.
And isn't Gene a great Elvis guy too?
Yep. We did a special show, him and I, right after the Elvis movie, because we disagreed with so much of it. But that's another story. So now, your book. Let's talk a little bit more about this cool book. All right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of authors. All right, let me backtrack. Where do you get all your info from? Let's start there.
Starts here. It starts here because it just scares me. I've probably lost brain cells of stuff that I know that I think, wait, I knew this. Why don't I know it? But recently I did a show on the Me TV network, Collector's Call, and I was called in to be the monkeys expert for a monkeys collection. And I'm like rattling off stuff. I don't know how I know all this shtick. I don't know how. But sure enough, when it comes to pop culture, especially rock and roll and that era, I'm a wealth of information. So what I needed to do for the book was not tackle what's in this brain, but tackle what's in the brain of these celebrities and these rock stars and movie stars and actors and athletes and authors, and get them to give me their top 10 favorite Beatle themes, whether it's their favorite songs, whether it's their favorite scenes in the movies, whether it's their favorite memories. That was a different direction to go with the book because, Jerry, I felt every book had been written on the Beatles. I couldn't think of another thing that wasn't already done except for this. And I swore I would never do a Beatles book. When I was publishing the Beatles magazine, Good Day Sunshine, that was like putting out a book a month for 20 years, a book every other month. And I said, no, I'm never going to put myself through that again. But I love the process. I love getting these celebrities to give me their information, to extract it and then translate it into words, because some of them I have to interview. They don't always give it to me in writing. Others I have to edit it so it sounds great and intelligent. And then I put it together with a great intro, with a photo. And then, it's just nothing like getting that finished book and the smell of the print and being able to know that other people are going to have it and enjoy it. And that's such a pleasure.
This book is such a cool book. Listen, guys, I mean it. I'm not just saying it. I read the book. All right. And yes, he mentions Elvis. So you got to get it. Come on, man. I have a couple questions for you. All right.
Yeah. Of course.
All right. This one you're probably not going to be able to answer, but give me an idea. You can name a few. So do you have any favorite songs from the British invasion?
Yeah, of course. The first ones that come to mind, because we're going to eliminate the Beatles because those it goes without saying, you
Right.
know. And "Bad to Me" by Billy J is one
Yes.
of my favorites.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
love that song. You know, I'll pay to go see him just to hear that song.
Yep.
Jerry and the Pacemakers were near and dear to me. And "How Do You Do It" and "Ferry Cross the Mersey" and "You'll Never Walk Alone" were just outstanding British
Okay.
invasion songs. But then there's that non-Liverpool contingency of the Herman's Hermits.
Oh, come on. Right.
And Jerry, it's hit after hit. I mean, it's not just one song. I mean, the guys, had legitimately.
I interviewed one of the Herman's Hermits. Yes, I did,
Yeah.
baby. So cool.
Peter Newman,
Yeah.
Carl
Yeah,
Green,
Peter. Peter Noon. Yeah.
yeah, Herman himself, and he's still touring and still, the sounds the same and puts out the great music. So those jump out at me as.
Oh, no, I didn't interview him yet. No. I apologize. I'm working on that. Sorry. Yes, working on that. So fingers crossed, guys.
Great guy. Good luck with that. You're gonna love
Yeah.
talking to him. He's boundless energy. He's really great. And if you could see him he probably does 300 shows a year. If you could see him in concert,
I did.
know-
I went and I got backstage and I met him and everything.
terrific, right?
It was cool.
And he'll sign autograph. He's coming to Milford, Connecticut in November. He does an annual show there, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him again. One of the first celebrity concerts I ever. You're not going to believe this. I was in college. I was on a college radio station, and I heard that there was an oldie show coming to a university. And this happened to be the university I was at. I was on the radio station at the college, and I said, "Hey, I would love to MC this show." And they said, "Well, you know what? We have a guy who usually does it, but that's for our 50s show. What other credentials do you have?" And I go, "I produce the Beatles conventions." Now, mind you, I was still a teenager. I had done a few Beatles conventions. They go, "All right, come on in and do it." You know who were the two headliners that night that I introduced? Billy J. Kramer opening for Peter Noon.
Okay.
Go figure, right? I still
Okay.
have the program of it. And when I introduce Peter, I go, "Okay, crowd, before we bring him out, I need you to go H." They go H. E. They go E. N-R-Y. What does that spell? N-R-A. And he comes out, and they're going wild. And he goes, "Don't ever do that again. You're taking that shtick away from me," or something like that. And he was kidding. He said that so fun. I'm like, "Huh?" And he goes, "No, just kidding." So
Wait, I want to
never-
tell a joke. I want to tell you a joke he told. Okay.
Yeah.
Because this was priceless, and I'll tell you why. So, we're all there, everybody from Hamilton Radio, right, at the PNC, and he comes out and he's doing his thing, and he looks in the audience and he's laughing, and he says, first time I sang this song, it was all these young, beautiful women in mini skirts and shorts. So he comes off the stage and he goes, now I'm singing to. It was brilliant what he did. He did not disrespect the women. There was an older guy in shorts, white shorts, in the audience. And he goes over to him and he goes, now I'm singing to older guys in shorts. And it was priceless because I'm saying, don't say what I think you're going to say. And he didn't.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. So, the ones that stand out are, for me, what happened was, if they sounded Beatlish, I loved it. The Knickerbockers had a song called Lies.
Okay.
And, that was so Beatlish. And the guy from the Knickerbockers actually gave me a top 10 list for my book. But then all of a sudden, the Beatles were transitioning, and we had Sgt. Pepper, which I was too young to really appreciate. So I kind of transitioned into the Monkees, and I became a huge Monkees fan for some years now. And eventually became friends with some of the guys, produced the Monkees conventions through the years. And as we speak, for 2 years now, this September, I've been on the air doing a weekend Monkees show on a Monkees radio station. It's an all Monkees radio station, which you can hear on Live 365, which is not quite Sirius Radio, which has the Beatles, but it has us, and it's Monkey Mania Radio. And my show is the Monkees interview show. So every weekend I get to interview people who are connected to the Monkees in one way or another.
Listen, pass on some of these interviews, baby. Come on. And you could be
Got
a
it.
co-host. You could be a co-host.
You
All right,
got it.
this is
I mean,
cool.
so many people who would do your show.
You
No
know,
worries.
Listen to me. I want to ask you something, all right? A few more silly questions, okay?
Never, go ahead.
All right. Well, wait. Am I allowed to ask you your age on air?
You could. I won't answer you, but you can
Okay.
ask me.
Well, then I won't. Then I won't ask it. The reason I always want to go there at times is so when you and I were growing up, and the Beatles and the Monkees and all that. I remember, I was young, and the Beatles were already famous. But I had a cousin who was only a couple years older than me, and we lived
Yes.
in Long Island City, New York. And he was on the stoop with his little record player playing the Beatles, and that was like the
Yes.
first. I was probably 9, maybe 9 or 10, maybe, and that was like the
Yep.
first time I really heard the Beatles. And I was a fan ever since, and I was like, this is so cool.
I
So,
tell the story. I do a lot of library appearances, and because I put out the book of top 10 Beatles lists, a lot of people say, "Well, do you have a top 10 song or a top 10 list?" And it's really funny because when I ask people, their response is always, "Oh, that's impossible. That's too hard for me to do." Right? And I say the same thing.
yep.
Because when I finished the book, my editor said, "Charles, you have to have your list. You can't put out this book without having your own list in there." And I say the same thing everyone said, "Oh, that's impossible." But what I did is I put together the top 10 Beatles songs or memories that had something impact on my life or with my kids or something, a connection to make it more personal, right? And Jerry, for what always pops out is the song "She Loves You."
Yeah.
Because growing up, I'll tell you why. I listened to AM radio on my little
Yes.
radio,
All
my
of us.
portable
Yes.
radio, and it probably sounded like crap, but to us it sounded great.
Yes.
And listening to Murray the K, and listening to Cousin Brucey and Harry Harrison, Dan Ingram, all those great New York radio jocks, it left an indelible. How do you say it? It left that imprint on our DNA. Well, I started getting some records. Mom and Dad were great. They bought me every 45 that came out. Then they would get the albums. And I would play them on my little Bugs Bunny Victrola, which also didn't have the greatest sound. And
But
I
we
had
didn't know. We didn't care.
we didn't know. I had Meet the Beatles, Introducing the Beatles, and the Chipmunks Sing the Beatles. Those were my first 3 great albums, right? Well, they took me to this pizza joint in the Bronx one day, and there's this big thing that's taller than me, and it was called a jukebox, and I'd never seen or heard a jukebox. And I said, "What does this do? Is this like an arcade game? Is this a video? Is it a toy?" And they go, "No, you put in a nickel, and it'll play a song." And
A
if you put in
nickel. A nickel. I know.
nickel,
I remember.
if you put in a dime, it played 3 songs, and if you put in a quarter, you can play the whole night. Anyway, so they gave me a nickel, and I go, "Well, what do I do?" And they say, "Well, press B3." And then all of a sudden, as if it was like from the heavens, out comes "She Loves You," yeah, and it's so loud,
Yeah.
and it's so. I never heard anything sound that beautiful
Ah.
until then in my life. Because even watching the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, that was out of that black and white RCA TV. That the sound wasn't the greatest. So hearing that was just like, oh my God, this is 3D. This is the greatest thing my ears have ever been exposed to. And "She Loves You" found its way into my book as one of my top 10s for that reason. How that memory of it.
Well, people ask me all the time, what's your favorite Elvis song? And this is what I say. That could never be answered. So what I've done was I've put them in categories. So I can tell them the favorite sexy song, the favorite fun song, the favorite, tearjerker song, the favorite sad song. I have categories because how can we answer that, right? We can't. It's impossible.
Right. As a DJ, it's even tough when someone say, "Hey, can you play some Elvis?" Because I'll automatically slow it down and can't help falling in love. I mean,
Right.
automatically.
Automatic.
But then if I got to do a fast one, it's not easy because they're all great. I mean, I'll usually go to Blue Suede Shoes. I don't. It's so hard.
And Return to Sender. People love dancing to that.
Return to Sender. Don't Be Cruel.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's endless, and that's my problem. Is I'll start if I want to play one, I want to mix into another, and I want to keep going.
I have a DJ question for you.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you ever get asked to play for very young audiences their music?
Sure.
Okay. So here's
Rap,
where
rap.
Okay.
Whatever hip hop, whatever I need to play.
All
Sure.
right. So rap and hip hop you play.
Of course.
Do you have like things muffling your ears?
So it's funny because people who, if I do an oldie show, they're gonna go, aren't you tired of hearing a teenager in love? If I'm doing a current song, how can you play Cardi B?
So I hear you now.
If the crowd is loving it, I'm loving it.
I'm
I mean,
hearing you.
it doesn't matter what I think of what the songs are. Would I rather be playing Dion, than Lizzo? Yeah. But if the crowd loves it, I
Okay.
love it too. If it's getting them dancing and they're happy and they're singing along. Fortunately, I got teenage kids who update my playlist, and
Oh my gosh, that's great.
they know what I have to add every month so that I can keep the playlist and the songs fresh.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I had to ask you that because that's been on my mind.
Yeah.
So now, all right, other than the British invasion,
Yes.
growing up musically, did you have
Yeah.
any other favorite singers?
So that's a great question. I mean, going back to that era, Jay Black from Jay and the
Sure.
Americans, Frankie Valli, Johnny Maestro, Gary Puckett.
Oh
You know,
yes, I interviewed him. I interviewed most. Yeah. Yay.
he's great,
Oh my
great.
gosh.
I loved everything. I can't say, oh my gosh, I hated it. I can't think of something that I didn't love if it was on AM radio.
Okay.
And then, went to college, still did Beatles stuff. Music took a back seat. So there was probably a time where maybe disco wasn't my favorite genre or whatever, but I still played it as a DJ, still loved it. But then there was that new wave of stuff, which sounded to me a lot like the 60s stuff, and it was the Cars, and it was Elvis Costello and Squeeze and Crowded House, and I loved all of that. And I started managing a band that played that kind of music.
Oh.
And so for me it was like, oh wow, the people who listening to it now, I better start playing the stuff that it sounded like. So I had a radio show called Charles Rosenay's Rock and Roll Potpourri, where I would play
I love it.
the Cars and follow it with a song that that it maybe was derived from or was inspired from. I would play Rachel Sweet and follow it with Ronnie Spector. So you
Okay.
heard that transition from one artist to another, and I had a lot of fun with that. And music, it's no matter what era, no matter what genre, there's always going to be the cream rising to the top. Whether it's, I'm not a heavy metal fan, but I love a lot of the stuff.
Okay.
I'm not a country fan, but I love a lot of the stuff. So I'm not so elite that if there's I hate hip hop. It's not true, because the quality stuff I love, and that applies to all the genres. Whereas with the 60s stuff, even the junk I loved. So
Okay.
that was the only difference.
That's funny. I want to share something with you about hip hop and rap. So many years ago, I got a message on Facebook from a young man from Trenton, New Jersey, a young black man, who said, Ms. Geri, do you think you could interview me and a few of my friends? I'm just starting out and I'm trying to get my name out there, and I'm a hip hop artist. So I said, can you keep it clean? And he said, absolutely. So this young man owns a piece of my heart. He moved down south. He now has a family. He goes by the number 6 director. Okay? And he has even surprised me when he came back home to visit and showed up in my studio. All right, I love him, and every once in a while he'll send me a message, Miss Geri, I'm keeping it clean for you. Well, this is what he said, and I'm sharing this for a reason. On air, I said to him, why does most hip hop and rap have to be degrading? A lot of profanity, like just why? And this is what he said. He said, Miss Geri, everyone has a story to tell, and our stories need to be told. He said, and unfortunately for a lot of us, this is the only story we know. When he told me that, I got to tell you something, Charles, it broke my heart, but it made me get it. I understood. I don't listen to it, but I understood. So I don't judge it anymore, and I just love him. And, music saves lives. We all know that. I mean, even through COVID, right? Look what music did for people. I do a lot of lives when I go to my shows. Even when I went to that show, I was doing some lives on Facebook. I actually had someone reach out to me and say, Jerry, thank you for that live because I was in the hospital and I had my nurse hold the phone a certain way, put it so that I could watch the live, and I needed that. So even babies, right, Charles? You could have a 6, 8 month old baby in a bouncy, you put music on, they're going to bounce.
Yeah.
Okay? So even right nursing homes, I do a lot of that too. People who don't even
Sure.
lift their heads and all of a sudden they start lifting their heads,
Yes, yes.
you know?
If they have dementia and you play a song that they
Yes.
remember and love, it brings
Yeah,
them
that
right
was my
back.
dad, yes. So
Yeah.
music saves lives and God gave us that gift. I mean, look at this, right? This music is incredible. So I'm with you. I love all music. I really do. But my favorite, of course, is oldies, doo-wop, and Elvis. But I love all music, all of it.
And he verbalized it right. You know what I mean? Because it's the way he explained the reason before why rap is the way. That's a good answer. But you didn't tell me I have to be clean. Now I have to change the rest of my show.
Yeah, right. So now, all right, I have a question. Do you have another book coming out? You have any thoughts?
All right, so we've got 3 books in the can, right? We've got
Okay.
the book of top 10 horror lists, which you're not a fan of.
Okay.
We did True Ghost Stories of Connecticut, which really did well because the criteria on that was it had to have something to do with Connecticut and they had to be true stories.
Oh,
And it did really well. People love that. And
I
of
would
course,
like that book.
yeah, people love it. And the
Okay.
current, the book of top 10 Beatles list, it's through the roof and it's on Amazon. All the books are on Amazon. I've got a book coming out that I'm co-authoring with Mark Arnold, and I want to introduce you guys because he's a great guest. He's put out books on Mad Magazine and on comics. He's a real into the animation and into pop culture. And him and I have combined because he's put out Beetle books and Monkey books in the past, and we're putting out a book on the Turtles,
Okay.
and it's called Not Just Happy Together. The Turtles from A to Z, from AM radio to Zappa, and it's the most complete discography of the band with interviews of just about everyone who was ever connected to the Turtles, and we literally every song they put out, and then him and I do a back and forth as to why the song is good or not good. We give our opinions on it. So I think that's going to do real well. That's going to be followed by a Monkeys book and another Beatles book. So the next 3 years, I
Okay.
have a book a year pretty much lined up.
This is so cool. All right, so the mic is still yours. I want you to
Yeah.
talk about anything that's important that you want to talk about. I want you to forget to say anything important. Come on.
So we haven't touched upon. Uh, I promote the conventions, put out the books, and I had these tours, which are just amazing. And
Okay.
I say it not as the tour organizer or the host, but as the person who attends these tours with the fans, and they have the greatest time. We do the Beatles tours to Liverpool every summer. We go during Beatle Week, and it's 10 days of London and Liverpool, and you go to literally every place you've ever heard of, every place you've ever seen on postcards or in books. Penny Lane, Strawberry Fields, Abbey Road, the Cavern Club,
There you
you
go.
name it, we go to it. And we just did it this past month, and people had, my gosh, the greatest
Yeah.
time. And we're already taking reservations for next August, and that's www.liverpooltours.com.
Very cool.
40 years now. That was our 40th anniversary. Somewhere down the line, we said, what else can we do that people love? That I kind of am a little enamored with, and that's the monster stuff. And so in 98, I started doing Dracula tours to Transylvania, believe it or not.
I might like
Yeah.
that.
So there's me dressed up as some kind of a vampire creature. And we actually, spend Halloween night in Dracula's castle. We go to 3 of the castles. We
Wait,
combine
where exactly?
Romania.
For real?
There's a real Transylvania, which is, that's legit. That's the real deal. We go to Bucharest, we go to Brasov, Sighisoara, and we spend most of our time in the municipality of Transylvania, where Vlad was the ruler. You've heard of Vlad
Yes.
the Impaler,
Yes.
right? So we combine the history of Vlad with the fiction and the lore and the fun of Dracula. And we do a 1 week tour to Romania every Halloween. I've been doing that now 25 years. And that's www.dractours.com. So I do the Beatle tours and we do the Drac tours. There's the website for this crazy thing I do here. And once every few years, when the people go on the Drac tours and they have such a great time and they go, Charles, we had such a good time with you in Transylvania. Do you do anything else? And I do, yeah, well, we do ghost tours. So I bring them to England on a ghost tour, or Hungary, or Israel, or Cuba, or Romania, or England, or believe it or not, Ireland and Scotland. All these places I've done ghost tours to.
I've been
So,
to most of those places. I'm interrupting you for 1 second. I don't like to interrupt. I've been to
I don't
most
mind.
of those countries. I've been all over the world, but I've never been on a ghost tour, buddy. We're going to talk. All right, continue.
No, the difference is we do all the things you would normally do. Sure, we'll go to Buckingham Palace and
Yeah,
Big Ben,
yeah.
but then we'll go to the tower and tell the historic haunted reasons why the tower has ghosts, or the London Dungeon and the Jack the Ripper tour. So everywhere we go, we do all the normal sightseeing. Even when we do the Beatles tour, we go to England. I'm going to take the people to Big Ben and to Westminster Abbey. We go to all the historic
Yeah.
places, but we pile on the thematic stuff on top of it. So those are the tours. In addition, I've got because I love this paranormal stuff. I've got a big convention coming up in November 11th and 12th in Salem, Massachusetts.
Uh-oh.
What better place? And it's called the Salem Paranormal and Horror Convention, with paranormal guests and horror guests and vendors selling all the stuff. And that's at Salem State University. And the website for that is Salem Paracon, SalemParacon.org. And people come from Jersey and Pennsylvania and
Yeah, I'm
Maine
sure.
all over to come to that, because that's so much fun. Now, during the Halloween season, this is not enough, right? I do something called the Haunted Trolley, which is near me. It's an old trolley museum, which still has the trolley cars running, and we do a murder mystery on there. So just for Halloween, it's hauntedtrolley.org, and people come and have a great night out. Now, besides all that,
But wait, do you ever have nightmares?
once in my life, I had a nightmare from a movie. It was called Wait Until Dark, with Audrey Hepburn and Alan Arkin. It's the only movie that gave me true
All right,
nightmares.
all
I
right.
think The Exorcist might have.
Yeah,
But
okay, no, I don't want to talk about it.
but Wait Until Dark did, because it was one of those home invasion movies.
Okay.
And it was more true to life
Okay.
than Frankenstein or
All
one
right.
of these. Yeah, that's the only that gave me nightmares. But I laugh at them.
Okay.
I think they're fun. I don't
All
think
right.
there's those evil, dark
All right.
elements to anything that I do. And the getting back to the books, I've been able to make that like a new act. People say, "What's your second act?" Sometimes, and actors go into music go into act. People change their careers. You became an interviewer. I'm sure that wasn't what you started to do in your 20s and stuff. And it's something that you've probably turned into something that you love. You don't make money on it. You do it
So
because
I want to share something with you real quick. When Hamilton Radio got in touch with me in 2016, it was because of my book, because that's when I published my Simon & Schuster published my book in 2016. They said, we want to interview you for your book. And Doc G said, why don't you come along? You have this great radio voice. And I'm like, no. So he bothered me for a few months. And I started thinking, Charles, you're going to crack up. And this is a true story. Every day of my freaking life, every day, every report card, I was in trouble every day in school, my whole life, through high school, every day for talking. I got yelled at and spanked every day of my life for talking. And I said, what's wrong with me? I got to do this. So there you go.
Well, I am blown away that you've contained and let me talk as much as I have.
No, I do that with my guests, yes.
So kind of the second act, because of COVID, was putting out the books. And all 3 books are available on Amazon, but they all have their own websites, because I know a lot of people want a signed copy. They
Okay.
want it to Geri. They want it, to Gene. They want it to the person who's getting it. Did I inscribe it in the front? Oh, good. Thank goodness. And so the websites for each respective book in order of how they came out is www.book of top 10 horror lists, and it's the number 10, not TEN. So you take off the word the, and it's book of top 10 horror lists.com, and you could the emails there, all the ways to reach me so I can send out a personalized copy for the ghost book where I can reach. Hold on, I'm going to go out of frame for just 1 second. This one, True Ghost Stories of Connecticut, which has its own amazing life because I did 3 of the chapters, and then I asked people in the paranormal world of New England to contribute what they felt was their most wow experience, the one that people say, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." And I said the criteria is it has to do with Connecticut and it has to be true. I don't want you to embellish it. I don't want you to flower it up. I don't want you to make it more scary. Give me the true story. So True Ghost Stories of Connecticut with a forward by the amazing Kreskin. I don't know if you've ever
I interviewed Kreskin. I met Kreskin.
Of course.
Wait, real quick. Hold on. So I have a photo with him, and he's, touching my brain, and
Yeah.
I say to him, "Okay, so what are you thinking?" And he says, I said, "So what am I thinking?" And he says, "You're thinking, how can I tell what you're thinking?" I go, "Yes."
I love him, and God bless him. He's not a kid anymore, but he's still, when he gets in his zone and does a show, he's great. He did the forward for my book, and he wrote a great story. And he also is a guest at my Salem Paranormal Convention. If you want to get the Ghost Stories book, it's www.paranormalconnecticut.com. But for the Beatles book, the book of top 10 Beatles lists, you take off the, and it's www.bookoftop10beatleslists.com by myself, Charles Rosenay, with a forward by John Lennon's sister, Julia Baird. And the greatest, just the greatest contributors and celebrities gave to it. And Jerry, I don't know if you know, but you see these amazing photos of the Beatles?
Yeah, I see these amazing photos.
They're not photos.
What do you
Each
mean?
one of them is a painting by a gal named Shannon, who is not only the world's best Beatles painter, but probably the best rock and roll artist that's ever lived. All of these are actual paintings of the Beatles.
I'm an artist, and I got to tell you, I couldn't do this. Okay, this is incredible. Okay. Wow. All right.
Wow, right?
Wow.
Fun stuff. Can you guess why I used 64 celebrities?
All right, so let me think. Of course I can guess why, because 64 was the greatest year for Beatlemania and all this great stuff, and Liverpool, and all of it. Come on.
And will you release me when I'm
64.
Yeah.
Okay, 64.
He had that magic number.
So this is
And
really
there's a
cool.
Nice picture on the back of me with Paul McCartney.
Okay, and that's not a painting.
That's not a painting.
Okay, and that's really you with him.
That's the real deal.
So that's pretty cool too, right there. Yeah, that's the best picture, baby.
That's the money shot.
Very cool. So, all right. So when you met Paul, I have a question, because I'm crazy and I don't put myself in any box at all. I'll get behind the scenes with everybody and anybody. Okay, at the PNC, I was the only one they let come backstage, and I kind of was like, "Listen, I'm a friend of Jay Siegel's. I messaged him. Are you still here?" He sent me his, lion cartoon. His wife, I said, they're like, "Go back, Jer." Okay, so I will do that. So when you were with him, did you say, "Sing it, Paul"? Come on.
No.
Why?
I blubbered something about how he's the greatest, influence on my life and what he means to me and all. And he's heard it all before. But I'll give you a quick anecdote. The person who introduced us said, "This is Charles Rosenay. He produces the Beatle conventions in America. And Paul goes, "Oh, that's cool." And Charles publishes a magazine at the time called Good Day Sunshine, and Paul goes, "Oh, good title, you know." And then he says, and Charles also does the Beatle tours to Liverpool, and Paul goes, "When do I get my royalties?" So that was the funny icebreaker.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I would have been like, sing it, Paul.
Sing it.
It's amazing. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I'm so happy you got that opportunity, especially you. You know what I mean?
I hope everyone can meet their heroes,
You know?
and that it's a positive experience. Before it was Paul, I met, the three of the monkeys, and eventually met all four. So I thought, that's it for me. That's going to be the greatest thing. And as the years went on, I had close encounters with Ringo, with George, met Paul a number of times, never John, unfortunately, but
Well, of
yeah,
course.
yeah. And because of all these books and the stuff I do, I've gotten to have a lot of really nice contacts with these rock stars and celebrities, and a lot of them are my friends, and it's a pleasure to be in that world.
Elvis with me, right? And I have the ticket. I never made the concert because I was 16 when he died, finally being able to go. I have it. I have an Elvis poker table I had made. I'm a poker dealer and a poker player.
Oh,
So
wow.
someone down south made the felt for me. I had to give my firstborn away and sign papers for this felt, okay? So that it was just for my house, and he did. But I got to interview Elvis Presley's nurse, Marion. Keep her in prayer. She's still okay. She's in her 90s, and I love her. She's a good friend of mine now. I was supposed to meet Priscilla, and then COVID hit, but I got to interview Priscilla's son by her saying yes, Navarone, this year. And I got to interview a gentleman that goes by Elvis Aaron Presley Jr., who is Elvis Presley's son. I got court
Right.
documents and everything. And
Yeah, I
so,
met him.
like you with the Beatles, to me, now I can, die smiling, right? I hope everybody gets that opportunity with whatever makes them so happy because, that's what life is about. That's what life is about. But, Charles, first of all, I'm going to give
we
you.
have to we have to combine and do the top 10 lists for Elvis, the book of top 10 Elvis lists.
Okay, so I'll get that to you, baby. I'll get that to you,
have to
baby.
write that.
I'll get that to you, baby. There will be, listen, like I said, I have all my favorite Elvis songs in categories because you can never say this is my favorite Elvis song. Impossible, right? So I will give you the categories and the 10 songs, okay?
You got it.
But, so we have a few more minutes. So listen, I don't have any more silly questions. I don't want you to get off this interview and say, wow, I forgot to say this or this or this. Is there anything that you may have forgotten to say that you wanted to say? Because the mic is yours.
Well, thanks. I get to do a lot of stuff, and I'm fortunate that some of the things I do make a few pennies here and there. Not my main thing. The DJing is my livelihood, and all the other stuff. I'm just so, how do I put it? Honored, proud that what brings me joy has brought joy to so many other people.
Yes.
When I do the tours, the people, I've seen people start crying when they hit,
Yep.
the Liverpool docks, and people got on their knees and got on the ground and kissed. They do that at Graceland. They do it in Liverpool. And to be part of that, life experience for them is just so, so rewarding. And these books have been fun. And when people, put a review on Amazon, or they call and say, "Charles, I love this book. I loved reading what was so-and-so's, Dick Cavett favorite top 10 list, or Tommy Chong, or Cousin Brucey." You go through it. It's one more wow person after another. And people who read the book, who are Beatle aficionados, say, I read stories I didn't even know. I'm like, no way. And so that, that adds to it. And then the people who aren't the diehard Beatle fans, just like the people who got my Monsters book and weren't diehard, of that genre, said, I liked it anyway because it's a celebrity book. It's a pop culture book, and it's a top 10 list book. So you don't have to be a diehard Beatles nut to
Right.
love it.
Right.
But so what I was getting back to is, thank God that so many of the things that I do that have brought me joy, as there's been a kinship with other people and kindred spirits, and has brought the joy to others too. There's no price you can put on that. There's no way to ever give that. any kind of anything except the what you feel in your heart. And I know, the things that you do have really saved a lot of people and brought joy and probably extended lives of people. So, when you think of the bigger picture, it's fun to do a podcast and sign an autograph. It's fun, to make a few cents on a book. But when it has impact and it has effect and it's for good, oh my gosh, and there's nothing more rewarding.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a poem out of my book for everybody, and there's a reason why I'm choosing this poem. But before I do that, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for honoring me, because when we were out at the tables with Billy J. Kramer, and Gene DiNapoli, and I see you, and I'm looking at your table with all I was like, get out of here. I have to meet this guy, okay? And I got your book instantly, and I was just like, I cannot wait for this interview, okay? You're so freaking cool. All right? You are so ridiculously cool. All right? And, again, everybody, please check out his books, especially this one. Really, seriously, especially this one. All right? I read it. I love it. It's incredible. And he mentions Elvis. I'm just saying, I just have to keep saying that. But listen, get his book. His book is amazing, all right? Especially if, you were born in 60s or whatever, 61, 58. Come on, get his book, man, all right? You're going to love it. So I want to thank you, baby, because this was really a very cool, fun interview. I just love music, and what you are doing for people with your music and your DJing and these books is incredible, okay? Mm-hmm. And even your scary books. I might check something out, and your tours are off the charts. I'm going to talk to you about a couple of them, all right? So listen, there's a reason why I want to read this poem, guys, all right? Everybody has a talent. I want everybody out there who struggles with maybe their self-worth, thinking they're not good enough or they have no talents. I'm here to let you know that that's wrong. Okay, we all have something to offer, but you have to figure out what that is, all right? So this poem is called Utilizing Gifts and Talents. We are born with talents, we are born with drive, with different gifts to help us thrive. I knew early on I was born to draw and paint, to also write poetry, and to talk without restraint. Our gifts and talents should all be used, God's gift to us not be abused. We can go far in life for sure, using our gifts to go on tour. All our talents should be used to create ourselves and more, but then our job's to share them, to even up the score. You see, in life what's needed is not just for ourselves. Once our gifts are mastered, take them off the shelves. A living we can make by spreading them around, not just for the money, but to spread a peaceful sound. So don't take for granted the gifts you're given. Go out and spread the joy. Our gifts are not to be held back for us to self-destroy. Put your efforts forth, do not hesitate, because all your talents, my friend, are never second rate. Never hold them back or you will surely die, maybe not in body, but your soul will cry. Our gifts were made to share, our talents made to soar, so go through life enlightened and then you can roar. Be proud of who you are. Be happy you're alive. Once again, my friend, your gifts will help you thrive. By putting efforts forth, not keeping them at bay, your name, Charles Rosenay, will live forever, baby, forever and a day. So go through life excited for what you sure can give. To yourself and others is our reason to live. Our grave will be quite lonely, but our legacy lives on. So make sure people smile with the breaking dawn. And that's what you're doing for people, okay? The second I met you, I smiled. And every time I thought about this interview, I smiled and smiled and smiled. Okay,
I'm
so
smiling the whole interview. I'm smiling the whole interview.
Thank you, sweetheart, okay? This was amazing. I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm saying my goodbyes. Everybody, please, please, please share this interview. Also, get that book, okay? You need to get that book. Charles, you're awesome. I love you, and I hope this isn't over.
Thank you, Gene, and thank you, Jerry, and a shout out to Gene again.
Yep.
For making that
We
happen.
love Gene DiNapoli, yes, for this connection, okay? And Billy J. Kramer, love you, baby. Oh, real quick, one more thing. You mentioned Cousin Brucey.
Yeah.
I interviewed Don K. Reed, and I also interviewed the Geeter. God rest his soul, both of them actually. And I met Cousin Brucey at the PNC. I went backstage, and he promised me an interview. So fingers crossed, get on his back. I'm waiting for that interview, baby. All right? He promised. So, Charles, thank you, sweetheart. Amazing.
Thank you again.
Take us out, Ruben.
Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do,
Just what to do, just what to do.
if what you're feeling is really true,
Is it really true? Is it really true?
just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.